Hello everyone, and welcome to the second executive vlog. I am Dr. Philosopher, formerly known as Dr. Math. You can go read the post on the forum if you're confused or interested about that. But I had some questions that some people had submitted to me that I'm going to go over and try to see if I can answer those correctly, or at least to their satisfaction. First question is, what are ZG's current aims? That's a really tough question. We went into it, or at least I did, wanting to create somewhere that was more open, more honest, and just an environment that fostered fun in gaming. I think we have that. I think there are, some caveats where, people decide, oh, it's the internet, let me act like every other internet user and start drama. But we tend to keep that to a minimum. Our goal is really just to include more people in the community and continue to make it friendly, We're always trying to think of ideas that will help that will help, kind of level things out and make gaming and fun the focus. Our recent sort of test period with a new Justice Department was sort of like that. Its goal was supposed to be to help issues not escalate to the point where they need justice tickets and then people are getting upset and then there's all this kind of fighting and stuff. So that was just one thing that we tried to do. We're obviously trying more things to get more leaders involved in things that are happening so we can preempt issues and make sure that the focus is on gaming and not on, I don't know, some kind of drama. Another question was, someone mentioned something about this 200 member gap. I think Isaiah recently posted a thread in the open forum about this too. And while we definitely have increased since we started, we are definitely down in both total members and active members from where we were earlier this year or maybe late last year. Part of that is because we did have a lot of people in some divisions that were just not doing anything. Dota 2 being a huge example. It had a lot of people, but they all hated playing together because they thought they were the best, even though they were like, I don't know, probably silver rank compared to League. And they just didn't want to play with each other, and all they did was rage and flame. So the division died, and it sat there for a long time. So I think that the shrinkage that we're seeing from maybe late last year and earlier this year is not necessarily because the community is sort of, dying or it's shrinking or whatever. I think it's us just being more selective and making sure that we encourage people to be active parts of the community. One of the things that we did was, it used to be where you had 2 months to, if you disappeared and forgot to sign up and participate in whatever, you had 2 months before your account was gone. Well, now that's been changed to 6 weeks. But you also get emails every week after 3 that says, hey, you're missing, please log in, whatever. And so that has probably dropped members. Several divisions have also done purges where, they make a post and leave it up for like several weeks so everyone can see it and say, hey, if you're active, like, please post. And those that don't get set to resign and they don't count towards our status anymore. And I think that's really fair. I think that that's good because it gives new members a true representation of how active the division is versus, oh, we have 100 members on our roster, maybe 40 of them in the in-game chat room at one time, and only half of them willing to play with other people. So you have this slow, deflation into into how many people are really going to be active to a new person. They come in thinking, wow, 100 people, there's must be so many. They get into the chat room, it's like, oh, okay, not as many as there, but, you know, it's whatever. And then once they start playing, they see that only, you know, half of those people will even care to play with them. So it's pretty bad, and I think it gives people a false sense of how large we are and how active we are. So I would rather see those numbers go down, especially the total member go down and the active member go up, but I would rather see people look at the clan and get a true representation of what we are than lie to them and have them join and become discouraged or unhappy because they felt that we misrepresented ourselves to them. So I'm very much all about honesty and, you know, anything we can do to help that. Along the same lines, people said like, oh, you know, you could get the whole community involved with clan-wide events. If you haven't been in the clan long enough, then you should defer to those of us who have been around. Clan-wide events don't work. You can get some, like, oh, like a karaoke night or you know, drawing game thing or something like that, but the number of people that actually tend to show up is maybe around 20. 20 out of 600 to 700 is not a clan-wide event. It's a small group of friends that are getting together to play something that they like. They're very difficult to sort of do if you try to do anything that's with all the divisions where they're like, you know, based on division participation. Obviously, some divisions that require more, you know, that don't have sort of in-game systems to really organize and that they use the forums more or whatever will have a distinct advantage. Bigger divisions, it's easier for them to have events. They have an advantage. So it's really hard to come up with an event that can balance for all of these factors and still be fun. It's very difficult. We haven't really had success with it. We're always open to ideas, but don't be surprised if you suggest something and you get a PM or a response back saying, we've tried that before, here's why it doesn't work. And, you know, I know people may say, oh, well, you know, we have different members and it's changing all the time and blah, blah. And it's not really about the members thing. It's just about the mentality of people who join our community. We are a multi-game community, but think about how we get most of our recruits. They come for one game. They either come from the League of Legends forum or from a CSGO forum or from an MMO thread that we made. You know, they're coming for that game. And so they may not necessarily want to have anything to do with the rest of the wider clan. They're happy with this group of people they're playing with, and why should they get involved? And I don't think that's a bad attitude to have. You know, you come to play for a game. We don't make you have to play other games with us. You know, if you play League and then you find a different community for Smite or Counter-Strike or whatever, go for it. Like, you're not forced to do that, because there's no guarantee that if you join for one division that you will get along with people in another division. And we're not here to tell people who to play with or to try and rope them in and say, ha 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 ha, if you want to stick with us in this one game, you better stick with us everywhere. I don't like that. I've been in places where that's been a problem before, and I think it's best to avoid that. So, you know, I think as we grow and we start to become more cognizant of the actual activity of our divisions as opposed to the perceived activity from the roster, then I think we'll be able to do more, and we'll be able to retain new members better. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. The last thing, expansion, why are they not releasing more games? This is a very difficult question. First off, while expansion is the department that's supposed to help facilitate them, they can only do so much. When a new game is started, expansion goes in and helps and works for them. the person who is interested in starting it should look for a core group of people that at least has a leader who will want to be an LT. And it's very tough because in the beginning you have finding a leader, like someone who's a good leader soon, and finding a core group of initial people to do that with. And so often games will fail, not because expansion isn't doing their job, but because the leaders in those games flake out. You know, they start off, and then, you know, it may take a while to find another leadership training, and they're just like, oh, I don't want to be the only one doing all this work, so I'm just going to resign, blah, 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 blah. And then no one is there organizing anything, because that's really not the purpose of expansion, is not to go in and run these divisions for them. If they did that, then no division could ever get released, because they would just be being babysat by expansion. So I think that's definitely an issue. An issue is finding solid leadership that wants to stick with the game. And a lot of games that you've seen fail recently, just either the leadership was flaky, or there were some issues with the game itself and how it was changing, or the systems in it. There's a lot that goes into determining whether or not a game will be successful. Leadership is definitely a key. There's a lot of other things, like when you're looking at the game, especially looking at the genre. MMOs are extremely difficult to break into unless you're there like during beta and you start to form something. It's possible to go into an MMO afterwards, you know, and get in there and do something, but it's very difficult because you have to find leaders who are willing to help you start something from nothing. And a lot of the best leaders in MMOs that have been out there for a while, guess what? They're already in huge, like, big name guilds. Like, they are usually not interested in trying to start something else. So finding dedicated people early on who legitimately want to help start something is key, and that's why I think you will probably tend to not see many MMOs enter into expansion. You know, this mistake glared at us during Elder Scrolls Online. Back when Isaiah was director of what was then recruitment, but essentially the same thing as expansion, he got in touch with ZeniMax and got like all kinds of beta keys and stuff, and he was you know, asking people to give them away, or asking people to take them and play some, and you know, some people did, but then I think some people didn't. And the problem there was, as soon as we had access, we should have gone hardcore, got people that love MMOs, even if they weren't going to stick with it, gotten them, started a group in the beta, and started recruiting right away. Right away. As soon as you have access to a game, especially an MMO, you need to start recruiting, because if you already have a solid group when the game releases, guess what? You're going to be way ahead of the curve. Way ahead of all the other people that didn't get beta access, that, you know, don't have a clue, and you'll be something that's established in this new game, and people will be like, wow, that's really cool. They're already this, you know, awesome guild that knows what they're doing because they were playing in beta. I'm going to join them. And unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of that. We tried to get people to, you know, do more things before the game released, but no one did anything. So definitely we and leadership and expansion dropped the ball on that, and we all know ultimately the thing I think that did it in was their in-game guild system is just really ridiculous, and a lot of their systems are ridiculous, and it's not going to be long until ESO is free to play with a cash shop. That's my prediction. But you know, there are things like that that will affect if a game makes it out. Now, there is also a phenomenon that we've been noticing that I've been talking with Sillywinkles about, and that is that a lot of the people that are applying for expansion coordinator, which is like, you know, the get in there, let's do stuff position in the department, will register with one game in mind. They'll say, you know, I really want to help bring in this game, and when that game either fails or gets released, they have no idea what to move on to. And the more we recognize this, the more we're going to start to try and shy away from those people as ECs. If you join, or if you apply to expansion and say you really want to bring in, I don't know, Club Penguin or Hello Kitty Online, take your pick, and you register, you're already in game, you're playing, you're recruiting, and you register and or apply for EC, and you get to be EC, and you're all excited, and you help bring it in, and you find some new leaders, and then it gets released and it's done as a division, and it's still the thing that you like playing the most. You don't really have any interest in playing other games. Then the question becomes, why did you become an EC, and why don't you want to be a leader for the division, since that's clearly all you want to play? So there's definitely going to be more talk with ECs about if they truly do have interest in multiple games. And if it seems like they don't, then they will not become an EC. They will be encouraged to become an LT and stick with that division. Because we don't want ECs after the fact that are just, sitting on their hands, twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing all day. But it also means that the expansion department will likely shrink. But that's not a bad thing, because if the department is focusing more on getting these dedicated leaders into the divisions instead of sucking them up into expansion, then the divisions are going to be healthier, they're going to last longer, and expansion will have a better long-term success rate with the things they do release. This does mean, however, that more is going to be expected of the admins in the department. There's not going to be they're not going to be able to just be managers anymore. If the EC pool starts to shrink, they're going to be expected to be doing exactly what the ECs are doing with extra responsibilities. So it's they should be going in, finding a new game that they like, trying to bring it in. Because it's not fair that we are shrinking the EC pool to that group that we want that likes multiple games, but we're not expecting the same thing of admins. We're just expecting them to kind of, chill and manage the people. That's not what an AD is supposed to do. You're supposed to lead by example, or a CD for that matter. So if the team starts to shrink, it will definitely mean more work on the administration of expansion, but I think it will also mean more long-term success with more divisions having longevity. With that in mind, it looks like we have not very many things being released by expansion, but consider that we have one league form, but there's 4 divisions there. EU West, EUNE, North America, and OCE. So there's a lot of divisions. CSGO, I know at least EU is being prepared to be released in the next week or two. Both of the Smite divisions are looking really good. So I think what expansion has had to do, since it really came into its own and had good leadership, is taking these divisions that probably weren't developed in the best way, like CSGO, Smite, whatever, and taking them back into expansion and seeing what needed to be done to fix them, and then doing it. So that's really been the project of expansion, more so than trying to get new games. It's why don't we try really hard to keep the games that we have and make sure that they're way healthier in the future than they have been. So I don't know. I would cut expansion some slack and realize that they are doing a lot of work, and that they recognize, all the things that you probably do, and they really just want everything in ZG to be successful, and trying to retain the player base for games that we already have is a pretty big job, and it's a pretty important one. So they're actually helping. While it may not look like they're releasing a whole lot of new games, what they're actually doing is helping us to retain the games that we already have and make those games better. So I would definitely think of it that way, instead of wondering, why don't we have more games being released. It takes a long time and effort too. So, well, those are all the questions that I really had. If you like these and want me to continue them, please let me know, like the video, post on the forums, whatever, and send me a PM if you have questions that you think you would like me to go over in the future. That's kind of where I get my inspiration for writing these. So, you know, if I don't have anything that people want to hear about, I'm not going to waste my time talking and making you listen to a boring video. So, thanks for listening. I hope I answered some questions that you may have had, and I will see you next time.